What if the foods that healed humanity for 1400 years were never lost? They were simply forgotten. Ibn Sina, the greatest Muslim physician in history, picked up a single fruit 1,000 years ago and prescribed it for the elderly mind, for memory, for the slowing brain. The largest Mediterranean diet trial in human history, published in the New England Journal of Medicine, has now caught up to him with a 95% confidence interval and 7,400 adults. The fruit Ibn Sina was holding is the food at number 1 in this video, and you will recognize it the moment you see it. There is another food in this list that the Prophet, peace be upon him, compared the believer who recites the Quran to, recorded in the most authentic Hadith book on earth. There is a green leaf the companions ate every Friday after Jumu'ah prayer that modern bone-aging research has only recently named. And there is a fruit so rich in pectin that Mediterranean grandmothers used it to set jam without any modern thickener. By the end of this video, you will know 15 Sunnah-anchored foods that classical Muslim physicians prescribed for the heart, the brain, and the slowing of the body, and that modern peer-reviewed science has now confirmed. Stay until the end. Number 1 will leave you with goosebumps. A quick word before we begin. We have gathered the daily practices of the beloved, peace be upon him, how his household ate, drank, slept, and healed, into one book, the Sunnah Home Manual. 40 practices, every hadith verified, every source shown. To get your copy, visit sunnahgardens.com. Or pause this video right now, open the camera on your phone, point it at the code on your screen, and tap the link that appears. You will also find the link in the description right below this video. I will not mention it again. If you want it, it is there. Now, let's begin. Number 15. Endive, in Arabic, Hindiba. Now, before I begin, I want to be straight with you about something you may have already heard. You will find teachers quoting a famous hadith on Hindiba that says every leaf of it is covered with a drop of water from paradise. That hadith has been graded fabricated by Sheikh al-Albani and the leading hadith scholars of the modern era. So we are not anchoring on that. What we have is something stronger. Ibn al-Qayyim al-Jawziyya in Tibb al-Nabawi dedicates a substantial entry to Hindiba without ever claiming a Sahih hadith. He prescribes it for the liver, for digestion, for cooling the constitution. And the modern microbiome literature has matched him. Chicory and endive carry inulin, the prototypical prebiotic fiber. A 2021 paper in the journal Nature Metabolism, drawing on data from thousands of adults across multiple cohorts, documented that a more diverse gut microbiome predicts healthy aging itself. Hindiba feeds the bacteria that keep the aging body working. The fabricated hadith failed the chain. The plant did not fail the lab. Number 14. Quince, in Arabic, safarjal. Same honesty rule applies here. You may have heard the hadith narrated through Talha, may Allah be pleased with him, that quince strengthens the heart and refreshes the chest. That narration is recorded in Sunan Ibn Majah, but it has been graded weak by Sheikh al-Albani, so we are not anchoring on it. What we have is Ibn Sina in the Canon of Medicine, who dedicates an entry to safarjal for the heart, for the stomach, and for the chest. And what the modern food chemistry literature has now documented is striking. Quince has one of the highest natural pectin contents of any common fruit, which is why Mediterranean grandmothers for 1,000 years have set jams and jellies with quince without any added thickener. The pectin supports the gut barrier, which supports systemic inflammation, which is one of the foundational mechanisms of aging. Ibn Sina caught the medicine. The modern lab caught the mechanism. Number 13. Carob, in Arabic, karub. Carob has no direct authenticated hadith. What it has is Ibn al-Baytar, the great Andalusian physician of the 13th century, whose pharmacopoeia gives karub its own substantial entry for digestion and gentle nourishment. The carob tree has been a staple of the Levantine and Andalusian Muslim kitchen for 1,500 years. Modern wellness aisles now sell carob at premium prices as the natural alternative to chocolate. The Muslim Mediterranean has eaten it as a daily food since before there was a crusade, and the peer-reviewed literature has now identified two anti-aging mechanisms. Carob carries a natural sugar called dipinitol, which has documented insulin-sensitizing effects. Glycemic stability is one of the most robust longevity interventions in modern geroscience. And carob's soluble fiber, in a 2003 trial in the European Journal of Clinical Nutrition, reduced LDL cholesterol in adults with high cholesterol over 6 weeks. The molasses your great-grandmother boiled down from carob pods was working medicine, not folklore. Number 12. Hibiscus, in Arabic, karkadeh. Picture a tall glass of deep crimson liquid, brewed hot in winter and chilled in summer, drunk in every household from Cairo to Khartoum for centuries. That is karkadeh, the Egyptian and Sudanese national drink. There is no direct Sahih Hadith on it, but Ibn al-Baytar, who lived in Andalusian Egypt, gave karkadeh its place in his pharmacopoeia, and the cardiology journals have now produced serious weight behind it. A 2022 systematic review and meta-analysis published in the Oxford Journal Nutrition Reviews examined multiple randomized controlled trials of hibiscus on blood pressure. The result was a statistically significant reduction in both systolic and diastolic blood pressure. The mechanism is that the anthocyanins in hibiscus, called delphinidin and cyanidin sambubiosides, inhibit angiotensin-converting enzyme. That is the same molecular pathway that prescription blood pressure medications act on. The Egyptian grandmother's daily drink, the drink the pharaohs left to the Muslims, and the Muslims handed to modern cardiology. Number 11. Beetroot. In Arabic, Shamandar. Ibn al-Baytar's Pharmacopoeia gives Shamandar an entry. The Mediterranean Muslim cuisines, the Maghrebi, the Andalusian, the Levantine, have eaten red beet for centuries, and the vascular literature has now produced one of its most replicated findings on this single vegetable. Beetroot is the highest dietary source of inorganic nitrate. Your body converts that nitrate through the nitrite-nitrite-nitric oxide pathway into nitric oxide. Nitric oxide is the master vasodilator. As we age, our endothelial cells produce less of it, and our arteries stiffen. A 2008 study in the journal Hypertension showed beetroot juice reduced systolic blood pressure by about 10 millimeters of mercury in healthy adults within hours. A 2013 study in the journal Nitric Oxide documented improved cerebral perfusion in elderly subjects. The red beet your grandmother roasted in her oven was doing molecular work the lab had not yet named. If this video is teaching you something tonight, do me one small favor. Tap subscribe and tap the bell so the next videos in this series reach you. We are counting down the most overlooked anti-aging foods of the entire Sunnah and Tibb tradition. And the next 10 include the food the Prophet, peace be upon him, compared the believer who recites the Quran to the leaf the companions ate every Friday and the fruit Ibn Sina held in his hand when he wrote his single most quoted anti-aging line. Stay with us. Number 10. Mulberry, in Arabic tut. Across the Levant, across Anatolia, across Persia, the mulberry tree has stood beside Muslim village houses for over 1,000 years. Ibn Sina wrote about tut in the canon of medicine for cooling, for digestion, for the throat. And the mulberry has two anti-aging signals depending on which part you use. The dark fruit carries one of the highest anthocyanin concentrations of any common berry. The white mulberry leaf carries a compound called 1-deoxynogeremycin, which is a documented alpha-glucosidase inhibitor. In plain language, the leaf tea blunts the post-meal glucose spike, which is one of the most validated anti-aging interventions in modern geroscience. A 2010 paper in Phytotherapy Research confirmed it. The dried mulberries your Persian or Uzbek grandmother kept in a small jar on the kitchen shelf are the same food modern diabetic support research is now studying. 1400 years of Muslim tradition, quietly confirmed. Number 9. Apple. In Arabic, tufa. You will not find a direct authenticated hadith on the apple. What you will find is Ibn al-Qayyim al-Jawziyah in Tibb al-Nabawi treating the apple carefully. He distinguishes the sweet apple from the sour apple, the cooling effect from the warming effect, the seasonal use from the daily use. The same Ibn al-Qayyim who would not invent a hadith was also unwilling to dismiss the food. And the population studies have matched him. Apples carry quercetin, the single most studied dietary flavonoid for cardiovascular and brain aging. A 2011 review in the journal Advances in Nutrition documented that apple consumption associates with reduced cardiovascular and all-cause mortality across multiple long-term cohorts. The simple proverb about an apple a day, it turns out, has more peer-reviewed support than almost any other traditional health adage. Ibn al-Qayyim's Tibb tradition. The Advances in Nutrition review, both pointing at the same humble fruit. Number 8. Chard. In Arabic, silk. Now this one is special, so listen closely. There is a Sahih narration from Sahl ibn Sa'd, may Allah be pleased with him, recorded in Sahih Bukhari in the book of Friday prayer. He said that a woman of the companions used to take the roots of silk and cook them with grains of barley on Friday after Jumu'ah prayer, and the Prophet, peace be upon him, would eat from that meal. Silk is the Arabic name for Mediterranean chard, the same species that gives us beetroot, but cultivated for the leaves instead of the root. And the bone-aging literature has now named what was on the companion's plate. Silk leaves carry betalains, the same antioxidant class as beetroot. They carry lutein and zeaxanthin, the eye-aging protective carotenoids. They carry vitamin K1, which a growing body of geriatric nutrition research links to bone density in aging. The leaf the companions ate after Friday prayer 1400 years ago carries the exact compounds geriatric medicine has only recently been able to name. The Friday meal of Medina, validated. Number 7. Citron. In Arabic, utruj. Open your hadith book. The Prophet, peace be upon him, said the following, recorded in Sahih Bukhari, Hadith 5020, narrated by Abu Musa al-Ash'ari, may Allah be pleased with him. The believer who recites the Quran is like the utruj. Its fragrance is sweet. Its taste is sweet. The Prophet, peace be upon him, did not compare the believer to dates. He did not compare them to figs. He chose, of all the fruits of creation, the utruj, the citron, the ancestor of every modern citrus fruit on earth. And the food chemists have now identified what the Prophet, peace be upon him, was pointing at. Citron carries some of the highest concentrations of vitamin C of any natural food, plus a flavonoid called hesperidin that supports the small blood vessels that age first in the body. Vitamin C is the substrate for collagen synthesis. Without it, your skin loses elasticity, your joints stiffen, your arterial walls weaken. The Prophet, peace be upon him, named the fruit. The lab named the compound. Number 6. Pine nuts. In Arabic, snawbar. Hold a single pine nut between two fingers. Pale ivory, smaller than a fingernail, gathered by hand from the cones of stone pines that stand on Anatolian hillsides for 200 years. Ibn al-Baytar's Andalusian Pharmacopoeia gives snawbar its entry. The Levantine, Anatolian, and Persian Muslim cuisines have built their pastries, their kibba, their kunafa, their stuffed grape leaves around pine nuts for over 1,000 years. And the nutrient profile maps cleanly to aging. Pine nuts carry vitamin E at one of the highest concentrations among tree nuts. Vitamin E deficiency accelerates skin and neurological aging. They carry vitamin K1 for bone density. They carry manganese, the cofactor for the master antioxidant enzyme called superoxide dismutase. The wellness aisle now sells pine nuts at $50 a pound. The Muslim Mediterranean has eaten them as a daily staple since before there was a wellness aisle. Number 5. Sesame seeds, the whole seed form. In Arabic, samsum. A note before I begin. We are talking about the whole sesame seed here, not sesame oil, which is its own separate item in the apothecary lane. Ibn Sina, in the Canon of Medicine, prescribes samsum for the skin, for the hair, for the lipid profile. And the human trial evidence has caught up to two distinct mechanisms. Sesamin and sesamol, the lignans in whole sesame, were shown in a 2006 trial in the Journal of Nutrition to reduce LDL cholesterol and to improve vitamin E bioavailability in human subjects. Lipid profile and antioxidant support, the same two markers that track cardiovascular aging the most directly. The sesame seeds on top of the breakfast bread, in the tahini paste, in the hummus, in the halwa at the end of the meal, are not garnish. They are working medicine the Muslim Mediterranean has eaten every day for 1500 years. Number 4. Pistachios. In Arabic, fustuk al-halabi, the Aleppo pistachio. The species itself carries the name of the Muslim city. Aleppo, in northern Syria, has been the world capital of pistachio cultivation since the early Islamic period. The Aleppo pistachio, Fustuk al-Halabi, is named in every classical Arabic medical text. Ibn Sina's Canon, Ibn al-Baytar's Pharmacopoeia, the Andalusian Maghrebi tradition, all give it a place. And here is what the lab has measured. Pistachios carry, among tree nuts, one of the highest concentrations of lutein and zeaxanthin. These are the eye-aging protective carotenoids that the lens and the macula of the human eye selectively concentrate. Macular degeneration is the #1 cause of vision loss in seniors. A 2015 trial in the British Journal of Nutrition confirmed pistachio consumption also supports cardiometabolic markers. The single nut that Aleppo built a city around, working eye and heart medicine for 1,000 years. Number 3. Yogurt. In Arabic, zabadi or laban raib. A note before I begin. We covered milk in the previous video on Quranic drinks. Yogurt is a distinct food in classical Tibb. Ibn al-Qayyim al-Jawziyah specifically distinguishes fresh milk from laban raib, the curdled fermented form, treating them as separate items. He notes that laban raib is cooling, easier to digest for the elderly, and supportive of weak constitutions. And here is what the last 5 years of microbiome and cardiovascular research have produced. Yogurt's live probiotic bacteria support the gut microbiome diversity that Nature Metabolism in 2021 showed predicts healthy aging across data from thousands of adults. And the bacterial fermentation produces vitamin K2, which the Rotterdam study in the journal Atherosclerosis in 2009 linked to reduced arterial calcification. That is one of the foundational mechanisms of cardiovascular aging. The fermented milk the Bedouin Arabs carried in their goat skin pouches across the desert is working anti-aging medicine modern science is still mapping. Number 2. Almonds. In Arabic, laws. There is no direct Sahih Hadith on almonds, but Ibn Sina dedicates an extensive entry in the Canon of Medicine to laws, distinguishing the sweet from the bitter, the mizaj profile, the applications for the chest, the brain, the digestion. And here is one of the most important findings in nutritional cardiology of the last 2 decades. The pre-dimed trial, conducted in Spain on 7,447 adults at high cardiovascular risk, randomized them to either a Mediterranean diet supplemented with tree nuts, meaning 15 grams of walnuts, 7.5 grams of almonds, and 7.5 grams of hazelnuts per day, or to a Mediterranean diet supplemented with extra virgin olive oil, or to a control low-fat diet. Now, I need to be straight with you on something. The original pre-dimed paper published in the New England Journal of Medicine in 2013, was retracted in 2018 because of a procedural error in the randomization for a portion of the participants. The same journal republished the corrected analysis the same year with the proper statistical adjustments, and the corrected findings stood: Mediterranean diet plus tree nuts, including almonds, reduced major cardiovascular events by approximately 28% compared to the control diet. The retraction strengthened the analysis. The almond your grandmother handed you with the morning tea was doing work the New England Journal of Medicine has now twice published on. Number 1. The food at number 1. Walnuts. In Arabic, jaws. Ibn Sina, in the Canon of Medicine, more than 1,000 years ago, prescribed a single fruit for memory, for cognition, for the elderly mind that was beginning to dim. He gave it its own substantial entry, drew the careful Mizaj classification the Canon is famous for, and recommended it specifically for the aging brain. The fruit he was holding was the walnut. Now crack one open in your hand. The two halves of the kernel emerge, wrinkled, joined at the midline, mirroring the two hemispheres of the human cerebrum with a resemblance no careful Tibb scholar after Ibn Sina ever failed to notice. The visual sign is in creation, the medicine Ibn Sina found in the body, and the New England Journal of Medicine this decade has matched him with a randomized controlled trial. The walnut is the highest tree nut source of plant-based omega-3. The alpha-linolenic acid that is foundational to anti-inflammatory cellular signaling and to the brain's structural lipids. The polyphenols in the skin of the walnut, the thin papery layer the cookbooks tell you to scrape away, are among the highest of any common food. The walnut is one of the very few dietary sources of meaningful melatonin, which declines sharply with age and is implicated in sleep, immune, and cellular renewal. And the headline finding, the same pre-dimed corrected republication in the New England Journal of Medicine in 2018. The tree nut arm of that trial was anchored on 15 grams of walnuts per day across 7,447 adults at high cardiovascular risk in Spain. Mediterranean diet plus walnuts and tree nuts reduced major cardiovascular events by approximately 28% compared to the control diet. A 2020 sub-analysis from the WAHA trial, published in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition, looked specifically at walnut intake and cognitive function in elderly participants. The walnut eaters preserved their cognitive function better over follow-up. Ibn Sina, 1,000 years ago, prescribed it for the aging brain. The New England Journal of Medicine and the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition this decade, with 7,000 adults and randomized trials, said the same thing. The means is the food. The wisdom is from Allah. The walnut, the brain in your hand. The number 1 Sunnah-anchored anti-aging food in this video, and the one your Muslim grandmother quietly handed your father before he sat down to memorize Quran, Jaws. For 1,400 years, the anti-aging foods of the Sunnah and the classical Tibb tradition have been passed from the Prophet, peace be upon him, to his companions, to Ibn Sina, to Ibn al-Qayyim, to Ibn al-Baytar, to your grandmother's kitchen. Now modern peer-reviewed science is catching up to what careful Muslim physicians observed 1,000 years ago. The cures Allah has placed in His creation are not miracles, and they do not replace your doctor's care. They are the means He has given through the Sunnah, and they are blessings. May Allah grant you and your family complete shifa. If this video benefited you tonight, the next one on this channel counts down 15 Sunnah foods specifically for the heart. The Quranic-anchored cardiovascular foods that classical Tibb scholars catalogued and that modern cardiology has now confirmed. Watch it next. And subscribe to Sunnah Garden so the next food, the next leaf, the next seed finds you when it is ready. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.